Today for core competencies, we are going to be looking at critical thinking. Critical thinking involves making judgments based on reasoning. So this is kind of what you're doing when you're analyzing using logic. You can consider different options like analyzing and drawing conclusions to make judgments. This competency is kind of a set of abilities that you use to examine your own thinking, the thinking of others, and the information that you receive through your observations, through your experiences, and other forms of communication. So there are three main components that we look at within critical thinking. The first one is analyzing and critiquing. So this is on a simple level when you can show if you like something or not, right? Or you can identify criteria that you use to analyze evidence. So being able to justify. So when we're looking at persuasive writing, you're doing some analyzing and criteria and critical thinking here. I can analyze evidence from different perspectives. So you can look at lots of different perspectives and try to figure out what the truth is or what the kind of where they match up, where they differ, and navigate through that. You can reflect on and evaluate your thinking, your products, and your actions. You can analyze your own assumptions and beliefs and consider views that do not fit with them, right? So what do you personally believe? Or are there ways of thinking that kind of surprise you because you just haven't thought of it that way? The second area is questioning and investigating. So in this, you can explore materials and actions. So you can kind of try and discover things. This would be something that we would have gone through quite a bit in science when we're looking at our essential questions and gathering resources and information. I can ask open-ended questions and gather information. We specifically did that in that project. I can consider more than one way to proceed in an investigation. So there's not always just one option. There's not always one right way, but you can look and see a few different possibilities of what you could do. You can also evaluate the credibility of sources of information. So when you read something on the internet, how do you know if that source is trustworthy, if that's actually accurate information? And you can tell the difference between facts and interpretation, opinions, or judgments. So is this a fact or is this someone's opinion and what they think about something? The final characteristic or quality that we'll look at is developing and designing. So I can experiment with different ways of doing things. I can develop criteria for evaluating design options. I could monitor my progress and adjust my actions to make sure I achieve what I want. And I can make choices that will help me create my intended impact on an audience or situation. So at Halloween, when we're going through our Halloween games and you're having to adjust and look at your designs and change and work for a specific audience, that could be an example of some of these qualities and characteristics. There are 4 prompts for this core competency that you can choose to base your reflection off of. So the first one is to describe a problem that you solved. What choices did you make that made a difference to the outcome? So what problem did you solve? Could be a problem in class, could be like an actual question in your course that you're trying to solve, or it could be a challenge that you're encountering, could be outside of school, and what choices did you make that made a difference in that outcome and how it was solved or whether it was solved? Your second one is when you analyze and critique your work, what evidence and criteria do you use to draw conclusions about it? So are there some certain markers that you know, even if I haven't put them on a criteria sheet or a rubric, that I'm looking for or that you're using to analyze and see if your work is kind of up to the quality that you're looking for? The third prompt is asking what strategies do you use to determine the truth about what you're reading on a social media site? So if you're on social media and you're seeing lots of things, do you just assume that everything is correct, or do you actually use some strategies to see if there's resources to back up this person's perspective? And finally, when you're curious, how do you find answers? When you wonder about something, what do you do? So that one could tie into things with science, could be stuff that you're researching on your own that's not connected to any school assignments at all. So remember, you can choose whatever format you would like for these reflections. Choose one has to be equivalent to one paragraph worth of content and information in your reflection.